Strap in and get ready to explore the final frontier. Today, dive deep into the rich and fascinating history of the Star Trek universe. From its groundbreaking beginnings in the 1960s to becoming a beloved and ever-expanding franchise, Star Trek has inspired generations of fans with its vision of the future, diverse characters, and incredible storytelling. Whether you're a seasoned Trekkie or new to the galaxy, embark on this journey to uncover the evolution of one of the most influential sci-fi series of all time. Phase set to fun, and let's boldly go where no channel has gone before. This is the Great Star Trek series history, and this is nerdsection.com. Star Trek, which first aired in 1966, stands as a cornerstone of science fiction and a pivotal piece of the Star Trek IP. The series introduced audiences to the starship USS Enterprise and its diverse crew, led by Captain James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner, and the logical Vulcan, Spock, portrayed by Leonard Nimoy. Its blend of futuristic adventure, intricate storytelling, and social commentary was ahead of its time, tackling issues like race, war, and ethics, often through allegorical narratives. One of the series' greatest strengths was its optimistic vision of the future, where humanity had overcome many of its present-day challenges and embarked on a mission of exploration and understanding. Iconic episodes like The City on the Edge of Forever and Mirror, Mirror remain highly praised for their imaginative plots and deep moral questions. However, the original series also had its shortcomings. Budget constraints often led to limited special effects and occasionally campy production values, which contrasted sharply with its grand ideas. Additionally, the show struggled with ratings during its initial run and faced cancellation after 3 seasons, although it later gained a massive following in syndication. The original Star Trek differs substantially from its predecessors and successors. Before the 1966 series, there were no Star Trek movies or TV shows, making it the inaugural depiction of Gene Roddenberry's vision. Subsequent series, such as Star Trek: The Next Generation, introduced advancements in special effects and more complex story arcs, reflecting shifting audience expectations and advances in television production. In contrast, the original series remains a seminal work that laid the groundwork for the expansive Star Trek universe, from its characteristic character dynamics to its exploration of moral and philosophical dilemmas. Star Trek, the animated series, which aired in 1973, is a unique and often underappreciated chapter in the Star Trek franchise. Following the cancellation of the original live-action series in 1969, this animated continuation allowed fans to once again explore the final frontier with the beloved crew of the USS Enterprise. The series featured voice acting by nearly all of the original cast, including William Shatner as Captain Kirk and Leonard Nimoy as Spock, which helped maintain continuity. One of the strong points of the animated series was its ability to explore fantastical and imaginative stories that live-action limitations previously restricted. New and exotic alien species, expansive environments, and complex space phenomena were more easily depicted through animation. Episodes like Yesteryear, which delved into Spock's past and the Slaver weapon, an adaptation of Larry Niven's sci-fi story, showcased the rich storytelling potential of the medium. However, the series wasn't without its drawbacks. Due to budget constraints, the animation quality was often criticized for its minimalistic and occasionally repetitive visuals. Additionally, the show was primarily targeted toward a younger audience, leading to a slightly more simplified narrative approach compared to the original series' more mature themes. Despite these challenges, Star Trek: The Animated Series made significant contributions to the Star Trek canon. It introduced elements that would later be referenced in subsequent series, like the holodeck and Captain Kirk's middle name, Tiberius. Compared to the original Star Trek series that aired from 1966 to 1969, the animated series was more experimental and daring in its narrative scope. The live-action series was groundbreaking for its time in dealing with social issues and featuring diverse characters, but was limited by the special effects technology of the era. In contrast, the animated series capitalized on its freedom from physical constraints, offering fans a refreshing yet familiar voyage through the stars. Star Trek: The Next Generation, which debuted in 1987, is a seminal series in the Star Trek franchise. Set nearly a century after the original series, it follows the crew of the USS Enterprise D led by Captain Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart. The show expands the lore of the Star Trek universe, introducing new alien species, advanced technology, and complex moral dilemmas. Unlike the original series, which often focused on episodic adventures, The Next Generation is noted for its deeper story arcs and character development. One of the strengths of The Next Generation is its ensemble cast, featuring memorable characters such as the empathic counselor Troy, the honorable Klingon Worf, and the android Data, who grapples with the concept of humanity. The series is praised for its intellectual depth, tackling issues like artificial intelligence, ethics in war, and the nature of reality. However, the show isn't without its flaws. The early seasons suffer from inconsistent writing and occasionally wooden performances. Some episodes feel outdated, particularly in their depiction of gender roles and social dynamics. Despite these issues, the series hits its stride in later seasons, offering a blend of thrilling storytelling and profound philosophical questions. In comparison to the original Star Trek series from the 1960s, The Next Generation boasts better production values and more sophisticated special effects. While the original series was groundbreaking for its time and focused heavily on adventure and exploration, The Next Generation delves more into political intrigue and the inner workings of the Federation. Both series, however, share the core tenets of exploration, diplomacy, and the enduring quest for knowledge and understanding. Star Trek: The Next Generation not only revitalized the franchise, but also laid the groundwork for future series and movies, cementing its legacy as a pivotal chapter in the Star Trek universe. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which aired from 1993 to 1999, is a significant part of the Star Trek universe. Unlike its predecessors, such as the original Star Trek series and Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine is set on a stationary space station rather than a starship, offering a unique perspective within the franchise. The story follows Commander Benjamin Sisko, who is assigned to oversee Deep Space Nine, a station orbiting the planet Bajor. The station becomes a strategic point due to its proximity to a stable wormhole connecting the Alpha and Gamma quadrants, opening up new avenues for exploration and conflict. Deep Space Nine is lauded for its complex characters and darker tone, tackling themes of war, politics, and religion more intensively than previous series. The Dominion War arc introduces a continuous narrative, differing from the episode of the week format common in earlier series, which enhances character development and story depth. However, some fans found its darker themes and stationary setting less appealing compared to the exploratory nature of the other Star Trek series. In summary, Star Trek Deep Space Nine stands out for its serialized storytelling and mature themes, making it a distinctive and pivotal entry in the Star Trek franchise. Star Trek Voyager, which premiered in 1995, stands as a unique entry in the Star Trek franchise. Unlike its predecessors, which primarily explored the Alpha Quadrant, Voyager takes place in the uncharted Delta Quadrant. The storyline follows the starship USS Voyager, which is stranded 75,000 light-years from Earth, and its diverse crew as they embark on a perilous journey home. Balancing exploration with survival, the series introduced new species like the Kazon and the Borg Collective in a more menacing form. On the positive side, Voyager is praised for its strong character development, particularly Captain Catherine Janeway, who became an iconic female leader in science fiction. The inclusion of the holographic Doctor and his evolving sense of identity also added depth to the series. However, the show faced criticism for its episodic nature, which sometimes led to inconsistent character arcs and storylines. Compared to its predecessors, such as The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, Voyager exhibited a more isolated and self-contained narrative due to its distant setting. This isolation provided opportunities to explore unique moral dilemmas and survival challenges, but also limited the series' ability to connect deeply with the established lore of the Star Trek universe. For more nerdy topics and epic content, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Star Trek Enterprise, which aired from 2001 to 2005, is a prequel to the original Star Trek series. The show is set in the 22nd century, about 100 years before Captain Kirk's voyages, and follows the adventures of the first Warp 5 capable starship, the NX-01 Enterprise, under the command of Captain Jonathan Archer. This series aimed to explore the early days of human space exploration and the founding of the United Federation of Planets. One of the strengths of Star Trek Enterprise is its effort to lay the groundwork for the Star Trek universe, providing rich backstory and connections to future series. It also boasts high production values, impressive special effects, and a focus on character development. However, it faced criticism for its pacing and storylines that sometimes felt inconsistent. Some fans also dislike the deviation from traditional Star Trek themes, particularly in its controversial intro theme song and more action-oriented approach. Compared to previous series like Star Trek: The Original Series and Star Trek: The Next Generation, Enterprise had a more serialized format, especially in later seasons, and a darker, grittier tone. It delved into complex political plots, such as the temporal Cold War, which differed from the more episodic and often optimistic storytelling of its predecessors. Though it struggled with ratings and was ultimately canceled after 4 seasons, Star Trek Enterprise remains a significant piece of the Star Trek legacy, offering a unique perspective on the early days of Starfleet and the challenges that shaped the future of space exploration. Star Trek Discovery, launched in 2017, is part of the expansive Star Trek universe, which began with the original series in the 1960s. This series is set roughly a decade before Captain Kirk's adventures and follows Commander Michael Burnham, a human raised by Vulcans, as she navigates a war between the United Federation of Planets and the Klingon Empire. The series is notable for its serialized storytelling, which was a departure from the more episodic format of previous Star Trek series. It also features higher production values, dark tonal shifts, and an emphasis on character development. On the positive side, Star Trek Discovery has received praise for its diverse cast, modern special effects, and bold narrative choices. Sonequa Martin Green's performance as Michael Burnham has been particularly lauded, and the show has been commended for pushing boundaries with its themes and character arcs. However, the series has not been without its controversies. Some longtime fans have criticized its departure from the traditional optimistic tone of Star Trek, finding it too grim and action-focused. There has also been debate over its canonical inconsistencies and the significant changes it brings to established lore. Compared to earlier series like The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, which often tackled philosophical questions and moral dilemmas within standalone episodes, Discovery's serialized format offers a more intricate and continuous plot, but at the cost of sidelining some of the franchise's beloved exploratory and intellectual elements. Despite these debates, Star Trek Discovery has managed to carve out its own niche within the larger Star Trek IP, appealing to a new generation of viewers while sparking discussions among devoted Trekkies. Star Trek Short Treks is a unique installment within the broader Star Trek universe, first appearing in 2018. As a series of standalone short films, these episodes serve as a creative departure from the traditional, longer format of Star Trek series and movies. Each episode of Short Treks dives into individual character backstories, side narratives, and experimental storytelling styles, offering fans brief yet intriguing glimpses into different facets of the expansive Star Trek universe. The series stands out for its ability to explore niche aspects of the universe that regular series and movies don't have the time or focus to cover. It showcases the versatility of the Star Trek franchise, from the emotional depth in episodes like The Brightest Star, which delves into Saru's origin, to the more playful tone of The Trouble with Edward, which expands on the story of the infamous Tribbles. However, the series is not without its flaws. Its short format means that the episodes often lack the depth and character development that longer Star Trek productions can provide. Some fans feel that the brevity makes it difficult to form a strong connection with the stories being told, sometimes resulting in rushed narratives or unresolved plot lines. Unlike its predecessors like Star Trek: The Original Series, The Next Generation, or even Discovery, Short Treks isn't bound by a single overarching plot or continuous character arcs. This makes it both a refreshing variety for existing fans and an easily accessible entry point for newcomers. While the traditional series focus on a steady ensemble cast dealing with interconnected themes and missions, Short Treks allows for standalone explorations, often shedding light on previously unseen corners of the Star Trek lore. Overall, Star Trek Short Treks broadens the creative horizons of the franchise, offering both nostalgic nods to longtime fans and fresh bite-sized stories that continue to expand the Star Trek universe. Star Trek Picard, released in 2020, is a continuation of the iconic Star Trek franchise, which began with the original series in the 1960s and has since included numerous television series and movies. Set in the late 24th century, the story follows Jean-Luc Picard, the former captain of the USS Enterprise, who is now retired and dealing with the ramifications of his past actions. The series delves into themes such as artificial intelligence, personal redemption, and the complex political landscape of the galaxy. One of the strengths of Star Trek Picard is its character-driven narrative. providing a deeper, more emotional look at its titular character. Patrick Stewart's performance as Picard is widely praised for bringing gravitas and depth to the role. The show's cinematography and special effects are also lauded for their high quality, making the universe feel expansive and visually stunning. However, the series has faced criticism as well. Some longtime Star Trek fans argue that Picard deviates from the optimistic and exploratory spirit of previous Star Trek series, leaning more into darker, more dystopian themes. Others feel that the plot can be convoluted at times, and that the series relies heavily on nostalgia, featuring numerous cameos and references to earlier installments that might be confusing for new viewers. Previous series like Star Trek: The Next Generation focused on episodic adventures with moral and ethical dilemmas, whereas Picard is more serialized, with a continuous storyline and a more intimate focus. The contrast is stark between the hopeful, utopian vision of the earlier series and the more complex, conflicted world that Picard portrays. In summary, Star Trek Picard explores the later years of one of the franchise's most beloved characters, offering both a fresh take and a controversial shift in tone. It remains a significant addition to the Star Trek universe, appealing primarily to those interested in character depth and a darker narrative arc. Star Trek Lower Decks, launched in 2020, is a delightful animated addition to the Star Trek universe. Unlike its predecessors, which often focus on the heroic captains and their officers, Lower Decks shifts the spotlight to the lesser-known crew members of the USS Cerritos. The series expertly blends comedy with classic Star Trek themes, providing a fresh, humorous take on the well-established franchise. Each episode follows the misadventures of Ensigns Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford, as they navigate the challenges of their lower-ranked duties while occasionally uncovering significant galactic threats. While praised for its wit, engaging characters, and deep-cut references that cater to longtime Trekkies, some critics argue that the comedic tone might not sit well with fans expecting serious narratives akin to past series. Nevertheless, Lower Decks has carved out a niche for itself within the Star Trek canon, offering something uniquely entertaining. When compared to past series like The Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, Lower Decks differs principally in its focus and tone, placing lower-ranked crew members in the forefront rather than seasoned officers. This shift allows for a more lighthearted and accessible entry point into the Star Trek universe, without abandoning the rich lore and ethical quandaries that define the franchise. Enjoying the content? Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for your daily dose of nerdiness. Star Trek Prodigy, released in 2021, is a unique addition to the Star Trek franchise, targeting a younger audience compared to its predecessors. The series follows a group of young aliens who discover a derelict Starfleet ship, the USS Protostar, in the Delta Quadrant. With the guidance of a holographic version of Captain Janeway, they embark on adventures while learning about the galaxy and the principles of Starfleet. One of the standout strengths of Star Trek Prodigy is its accessibility and appeal to newcomers, particularly children and teenagers. The animation is vibrant and engaging, and the storyline balances excitement with educational moments about teamwork, leadership, and exploration. Additionally, it introduces younger viewers to the rich lore of the Star Trek universe without overwhelming them. However, some longtime fans might find the show's tone and simplicity less appealing, as it diverges significantly from the more mature and complex themes typically explored in previous Star Trek series. The animation style and character design have also been points of contention, with some feeling that they lack the depth and nuance of the live-action series. Compared to earlier iterations like the original series, The Next Generation, or Voyager, Prodigy is distinctly more lighthearted and aimed at a different age demographic. Previous series often dealt with deep philosophical and ethical issues, offering rich character development and intricate plots. In contrast, Prodigy is more straightforward, focusing on adventure and moral lessons suited for kids. Despite these differences, it stays true to the core values of Star Trek: exploration, diversity, and optimism about the future. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, premiering in 2022, dives into the adventures of the starship USS Enterprise under the command of Captain Christopher Pike. As a prequel to the original 1960s Star Trek series, this show returns to the franchise's episodic roots. With an emphasis on exploration and a hopeful vision of the future, the series traces the exploits of Pike, alongside familiar characters like Spock and Number One, each episode offering a self-contained narrative with a diverse range of adventures. The strength of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, lies in its nostalgic approach, capturing the spirit of the original series while imbuing it with modern production values and storytelling techniques. The high-quality visual effects and strong performances, particularly by Anson Mount as Captain Pike, bring a new vibrancy to the classic formula. The character development is rich, providing depth to iconic characters and making them accessible to new audiences. However, some criticisms emerge regarding its sometimes uneven pacing and the occasional over-reliance on nostalgia, which can feel alienating to newcomers unfamiliar with the broader Star Trek universe. Additionally, while the episodic structure is one of its defining features, certain episodes have been seen as hit or miss, not fully utilizing the show's potential. Contrasting with previous series like Star Trek Discovery, which adopted a serialized storytelling approach with a darker tone and complex narrative arcs, Strange New Worlds offers a lighter, more episodic format. This differentiation allows it to appeal to longtime fans of the franchise while aiming to attract a new generation of viewers with its fresh yet familiar appeal. Hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of Star Trek. If you love exploring the origins of your favorite nerdy franchises, you're in for a treat. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Nerd Section for even more awesome content. And hey, why stop here? Click on the next video to keep the adventure going. See you there, and live long and prosper.